welcome back to game number 2 of tonight's Riot Trio Scrims, the Bounty Hunter edition. We are now in Miramar, and again I'm joined by the lovely Jammy from Deathly Hallows.
Evening.
So Jammy, what is our flight path doing today?
So we've got southwest from Valdemar up to the northeast up to Torre Armada. So we've got some of the big compounds are in play. So got Chimicera, we've got Picardo, Monte Nuevo, San Martin, Hacienda, if anyone fancies going for the Golden Morado.
Somebody will.
So we've got only a couple of teams have jumped early. So we've only got Team 15, Team 7 have jumped so far. From what I can see, yeah.
And that's not normal for us. We normally see a fair few teams jumping early.
Yep, here we go. So as we get towards the middle of the flight line, we've got a few more teams jumping now. So it looks like we're going to have a busy middle of the zone. Now, it depends whether they're all going to spread out. So we've got... It looks like only one team going to Picardo. We've got Salty Snakes and Grassroots and also Team 3. I can't see who that is. They're heading over to El Pozo.
Okay, so it looks as though we've got a few teams heading to the western side towards El Pozo. So I think we're going to start there with Team 22, Salty Snakes.
Yep.
And they are on the roof.
They're quite spread out. Now, what we have got, if you carry on with those, I'm just going to watch Teams 19 and 17, which is FE and, I don't know the clan tag, ILU, sorry, Madney, Shabis and Amzi. Sorry, I don't know the team name.
That's
there,
all right.
They're quite close to each other up in the north of La Cabreria. So as you see, the flight path was southwest to northeast, and we've got a very southwesterly first zone as well. So we've still got Los Leones, Picardo, San Martin in play.
So ILU Madney is part of the Elusive clan.
Elusive, sorry.
That's all right. I had to check myself.
So a lot of the teams that went for a late jump, you see that not many teams actually stayed along the flight path, but some of the later ones, you've got Jen, the Shacks, Team 13, and then you've got Team 18 and 18 and 11, and Tierra Bronca at the late end of the flight path. They're the ones that are going to have to make sure they get a vehicle, because otherwise they might struggle to rotate back to zone.
But one thing I've noticed is that these warehouses that at least 7 Atom Snipes is in, they are always giving you really decent loot.
Yeah. I do like the big warehouses. They are quite open, so it can be a bit of a risk if you know there's someone around. But the loot there is good.
But that's always quite handy, having the amount of doors.
Definitely. One thing I've just noticed, actually, if you look at Team 23, Grassroots team, now they're in zone, and they've gone for a very big split. They're split players at individual compounds.
Good
so that
God.
takes a lot of confidence in their own ability to hold it.
Yeah, but Grassroots have that. They've got that reputation. They're
Definitely.
always high places. One thing I have just noticed, my sound's off.
Oh, even though 3 teams landed in El Pozo, they're quite spread out at the moment. They're all going through that early sort of looting phase, just make sure they've got what they need.
I can't help but think, though, that with a map like Miramar, you know, I think it's 50% your loadout, 50% your location.
Definitely. You can very easily get caught out by the zone on Miramar and you end up running across the desert for a couple of kilometres. So we've got a first drop coming down. It's coming down almost on top of Team 2. I didn't notice if that was a flare.
Let's go and have a look.
I think, yeah, it's a flare drop. So we've got a Mark 14 and a Groza with a nice brown ghillie suit there. But that is calling in some other teams by the looks of it. Team 17, Elusive, are coming down from the north. And it looks like they're coming straight over to San Martin.
Saying that, though, in that flare drop you've got a suppressor. Do you think they're overrated?
On a Mark 14, yes. because a Mark 14 is so powerful, you can use it almost as an AR, and you don't need to suppress it, because actually you want the noise, because it makes, it can get people nervous if you hear that.
Yeah, but imagine hearing a Mark 14 and an M249 coming over the same hill.
Absolutely. So if it was something like a standard bolt action, yes, it can be really useful to be suppressed. So you can get shots in without people knowing exactly where you are. But a Mark 14, you're better off with a compensator.
And I think that is a thing. The suppressor is great because you can't be heard, but then you can see the flash and you're not compensated. Yeah. So you get something different with each, I can't think what they're called, muzzle.
Yeah.
What do you think is the better one to have?
Yeah, so for me, personally, on a bolt action, I take a suppressor. On a Mark 14, I take a compensator if I can.
And can I now draw your attention to Team 18, which is 7 Atoms, and they are now going up against Team 11, Gen. We've got Gen £1 Fish knocked, and we also have, by the looks of it, Where's Wally knocked as well, and being fisted by Kenzo.
Well, there we go. Not a lot I can say about that, is there?
I thought he would have introduced himself first, but he chose not to.
Well, maybe you gave him an energy drink just to be polite. So we've got £1 Fish knocked, we've got Gen Tequila hiding, and Snipes is actually rotating around, trying to get some high ground on Gen Tequila. Oh, goes for the Thirst instead. But that means that Gen Tequila does know where Snipes is now.
But do they know where Tequila is?
Currently lying down on the ground, trying not to make a sound, so they can't be found. But there are 3 players all around them, and I think it's only going to be a matter of time.
Lovely bit of rhyme in there from you, Jammy.
I'm a lyrical master.
Okay, so I'm just going to jump in here. So we've got Tequila inside the building, prone. Right, then...
Try not to make a sound, but Team 18 are... I'm wondering, actually, if...
Is Tequila...
I might have got away with this one.
I was wondering if Tequila was AFK, but luckily they've started moving, so we're all good.
Missy's just taken out Andy, so that's the elusive team taken down by the Zen team. So they rotated in towards the flare drop, and it didn't work out for them in the end.
Oh. Kenzo just jumped past that window. Tequila chose not to shoot.
Yeah, I'm moved over to the west now, over to El Pozo, looking at Team 9 on Team 3, where we've got Shav again, who went up last match against Nix. Currently, only Rapid and Shav left. Heady's been taken down. Oh. Shav there takes down Killam. So we've got Goddess and Zen, currently very, very low health. No, Zen is the only one left now, actually.
Looks as though Zen tried to get the revive on Goddess, but just couldn't make it in time.
No. About to run straight over to Team 9.
I think that's the polite thing to do.
So I'm currently spectating Zen. Puts in a nade, just try and cover off the left-hand side. Try and force players to go where they want them to. Just try and disrupt. It's not even about killing them with the nades at this stage. It's really, well, as you've just seen there with Zen, it's about knocking off some health so you can then push with an advantage. Although they've already got a 2v1, so the advantage is theirs anyway.
Ooh.
Doesn't quite reach, or does it?
It's just missed him.
There we go. So Rapid takes out Zen, who actually took out Shav, but Rapid will now get the revive.
You can't fault the effort of Zen, especially when he'd already lost 2 of his members.
No, absolutely. Using as many tacticals, getting the nades out, just try and disrupt, knock a bit of health where they could.
But should we now have a quick look at the next zone?
Yeah, so where have we got the next zone? I was just looking at Team 16 and 24, actually. There's a bit of action there. The zone's gone further southwest. It's not a dramatic change, actually. So there's no huge rotations needed, although we've still got a couple of teams that are up over the northeast, over Campo Militar, coming back through this blue zone.
And what I will do is just jump in there briefly to say that ZPX Kvesh has just got the kill on Rendezvous's snout, so they will receive an additional 4 points for catching the bounty.
And so it looks like Jet Tequila is still alive. In the blue, Team 13, I think one of the players, or two of the players left. They've left someone behind. So Darshan's still there. So Shax has left. Darshan's still there looking for Jet Tequila by the looks of it. But Team 18 did get out of there, so actually Jet Tequila did get away with that one. By going prone and not making a sound, they left.
It was genuinely one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. It was that they searched every single house, apart from the one that Tequila was in.
Yep. Now, it may be because Snipes went up to the high ground to get the thirst on the other player, that took his mind away from looking for Tequila. So maybe he just forgot that they hadn't looked at that house, I don't know.
Or PUBG might now be giving do not disturb signs. It's a possibility.
Well, in the middle of the map, we've actually got teams 21 and 23, which is HS and Grassroots.
That is hard shift.
Hard shift, sorry, yeah. So we've got Spartan up front. So prone, getting a good view there, see where they are. Not daring to peek just yet.
So we've got Sponge holding back just behind the church. Looks as though they are sending a Spartan, I believe, as their scout to proceed forward to have a look at Grassroots.
Yeah.
And I think as a result of that, although we can't hear their communication, it seems as though they are suggesting that Sponge rotates around the left-hand side to try and take them from another vantage point.
If you remember in the first game in Vikendi, Team 21 did that 2-1 split very effectively. Most of the time. Against the Zen team.
And it now looks as though the Grassroots team are sending Trippy up ahead as their scout to try and work out what...
One that's not afraid to split the team either, because if you remember with the first stages when they were doing the initial looting, they went into 3 different compounds individually.
True. But saying that, we are seeing that a lot over the first 2 games at least. This whole idea of scouting.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea?
If you've got the confidence to go alone, you've got the scopes, then it's a great idea. Gather information for the rest of the team without risking the whole team being in that forward position. But you have to be confident in your own ability, and as I say, you need some decent armour just in case you get spotted.
Well, let me ask you the $1 million question then.
Go on.
Camping. It's controversial, and you know, for me as a player, I'm a camper. I will fully admit that. I'm not a pusher. But do you think it's as bad as they make it out to be?
Not at all. It is really, really annoying when you are playing well, you go into a building and you get killed by someone you didn't even know was there. But you know what? They're alive, you're not. And that's the name of the game. We've got some nice snipes coming out. Hippie Boy just taking a big hit there.
And maybe that is where this whole annoyance comes from them. It's the fact that they didn't think of doing it.
Yeah, it's not even that. It just takes you by surprise. Your initial reaction, no one's ever happy about being killed or knocked in PUBG. And a lot of people, everyone wishes that you could just get through the game by being aggressive, taking the fights, and pushing all the time. But you know what? Sometimes you've got to just camp. Sometimes you've just got to. Look at Jen Tequila there.
True.
Camping a building, laying down prone, completely silent, and totally got away with it. And I think even if they had pushed the building, we see now Team 23 have regrouped Grassroots. They've got away from the fight there, which is unusual for them, but they've decided to regroup, maybe get some more tacticals, get some more heals, and then have another push. But they are in a very good position, not far from centre of zone.
And the zone has changed again, this time moving a little bit north, so we've now lost all of that water.
Yeah, so we haven't got many teams that are out of zone because it wasn't a huge shift. It's just going to constrict them slightly, bring a few further in together. So in the east side, for example, we've got Team 10 along with Team 18 fairly close. Then we've got Team 2 and Team 9. It looks like people are regrouping, trying to hold compounds maybe.
And it does seem as though we are having a little bit of a break in play. And now that we are 15 minutes in, we are just past the halfway mark. Let's have a little bit of a recap. So we've got 15 teams, 42 players. And let's have a look.
It was quite spread out to start with, even the teams that went to the same towns. So we had 3 teams in El Pozo, yet they all recognised they were there, and they didn't all go for the same part of the town. They were trying to just load up, get their equipment, and survive for the next phase. We've seen some good splits as well with the... Sorry, I'm just watching now. Seeing some action. So we've got the Salty Snakes taking out a couple of FE. View just to see what the lie of the land is here.
And is it just me, but with Salty Snakes, I normally see them taking players down from a far distance. They don't seem to be a team that wants to get up close and personal with the other teams.
No, but then if you can do it, then why not? Especially if they've got the scopes. I'm just looking at Fuji's point of view now. So he's got the money, he's got the mini with a decent scope. So he doesn't have to get up close and personal at the moment. He can just do it from the distance. So if you've got the scopes, and as we know on this map, having a decent sniper with a decent scope is really important, probably more so than any other map, because of the distances.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, it looks like they are going to be rotating out now. I'm not sure if they're going to go and push, or if they're just going to go and try and make sure they're in a good position for the next zone when it breaks.
And that is, I think, one thing I will mention, that we were playing a match earlier and we were talking about having a VSS on this map.
Yeah. Oh, that is actually, sorry, just to break in, that is a hard shift. So that's gone to the far south of the zone.
Oh.
That's taken out quite a lot of the players at the moment, so we're going to be centred around Chumacera.
Mm-hmm.
So actually looking, so Salty Snakes are actually, they got some long range shots in, but they're now coming in up close to get loot in the boxes, and they're pushing as well.
So they managed to get 1 kill from the FE team. We still have Imani and Towel in play.
Yeah. I'm just spectating now, right in the central zone, Team 14, Deathly Hallows against Team 7.
Mm-hmm.
And involved, so KJ and Buffy are taking some shots. They're both healing up. They're not knocked, but they both took quite a lot of damage then. But they are centre zone, so if they can hold this position, it'll be good for them for the next zone.
And KJ's got an AKM and an M4, a brilliant double AR combo.
Definitely.
But we do have the winners of Game 1 coming in, so it might be a bit of a challenge.
Yes, I'm looking at the Zen team now. So, we've got Team 16 coming in behind.
Mm-hmm.
So Team 7 have gone from being in a good position, getting some damage in, and now potentially a little bit damaged, but we've also got Team 23 getting involved as well. Basically, getting some great damage. No knocks, but got some great damage there on Team 16.
And this is our rendezvous team where... Oh, and Hippie Boy's just taking down KJ.
Down Page. So, 30
And that is Buffy down 2, so that is Dirty Hallows team out of game number 2.
Down 14, but they might not know that there's still another 2 teams around. Faceless goes down to Hippie Boy. Sorry, Trippy. Fuji takes down Welshie from DH.
I will head over there and have a look.
So in one combo, we've got Team 7 and Team 16 fighting over the same building, let alone the same town. Saeed gets knocked by Supreme with a great nade. I'm just taking the high view at the moment. Nades going in everywhere. And Team 23, Grassroots, are just... They don't need to get involved. Dora takes down Supreme. Takes down Supreme and Junior. So Tora can now go and revive Saeed, although Grassroots Team 23 have seen all this happen. They know that they're damaged and they're now pushing as a 3 on these 2. So, as you say, we've got the winners of Game 1 against the 3 from Grassroots. And they know that they're beaten up.
And I think that's just a great bit of strategy there, just paying attention and watching the story unfold, realising what cards they're being dealt as such, and then taking full opportunity of that and going at them whilst they are still weakened.
Definitely, and they weren't being passive either because they took out the other team that was there before this happened, and then they let these 2 teams fight it out. And now they're coming up against a couple of players who are they're not low on health, they've healed up, but they're not at full health.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of nades that went in, they probably haven't got many tacticals left. So the Grassroots team here, and I've just seen that Welshie's taken down Avery. Fuji takes down Tango. Welshie looks like he's got the AWM as well. I just don't want to leave this fight at the moment. I've got the bird's eye view. Grassroots really just trying to work their way round, just to get Tora and Saeed out of the building, I think. They're not pushing into the building, they're just working their way around it.
Oh, and literally with a millisecond to spare, Fingod manages to get a first aid kit in. Is now going for the revive on Fuji. Welsh and Revolt are rotating right. Tango is staying left. That is Fuji revived. Crouching up and down.
We've now got Team 2, Riot. Ghost Junior, Ghost and Get Over It, getting involved as well. Coming in, looking for the third party here. Tora takes down Trippy from Grassroots. And Xander. Tora's having a great evening now. Taken down 2 of the Grassroots team. So it's now 2v1. Tora and Saeed against Hippie Boy. And that's it. So Tora with the squad wipe, taking down Xander, Trippy and Hippie Boy. And now Riot are doing exactly what Grassroots did. They've watched the fight happen, they've sat on the sidelines, and now they're just going to try and clean up some damaged players. But we've also got Team 9 coming into play now, which is Sharp Rapid, Chris.
Oh!
Ghost Junior knocks Saeed through the building. That is a great shooting through the window there.
Now, I am watching Riot Ghost Jr. As you said, great shots from him.
Yeah.
Preparing a grenade to go in.
Level view, so I can see Team 9 as well. So we've had Grassroots watching the action, and then Riot doing the same. That's it. So Tora and Saeed taken out, the winners from Game 1 by Riot. And so now we've got Team 9 who are sat on the sides. They haven't taken any shots. They've actually gone further into Chumacera, I guess, to try and get some loot. Maybe they realised that pushing a team of 3 wasn't the best idea.
So it's just a weird case of deja vu in our situation, and that the teams are just sitting on the edge, waiting for the others to do their bit, and then going in straight afterwards.
Yep,
and we just have it round and around.
And does the same to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was excellent defensive play against Grassroots there by Tora and Saeed. Tora especially taking down all 3 when Saeed was not. We've got Team 18, 7 Atoms joining the fight as well now. They're on the hill overlooking Chumacera.
They have been spotted by Team Riot though.
They have. So, but I'm just looking. Snipes is actually looking in the opposite direction, trying to see where he's looking. He's looking at Team 10 by the looks of it, Jen, who are currently out of zone. He's reviving Ascend. They're taking shots to the vehicle. So Gen Nick takes down Ascend. So even though they're in the blue and they're losing health, Nick's just been knocked by the zone. But they're making sure they try and take down people with them. Snipes knows where they are, going for the finish. So I'm currently spectating Gen 10 coming in from the blue and they're running. They don't have a vehicle. They're close to the edge of zone, but of course Snipes knows exactly where they are. And I'm guessing with the gunfire, so will the others in Chimicera.
But one thing that's worth mentioning for team number 2 Riot is that because they've waited so long, they don't only have a compound that's in zone, they have all the boxes as well.
Yeah.
So they are more than suited up for this.
Definitely. They'll certainly have plenty of ammo. There were a huge amount of nades going into that building, so I'd imagine there can't be many nades left in those boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Revolt's just been taken out by Team 19, FE. So we get people moving into zone now. So the zone, we've got the eastern edge of Chimicera and a lot of open ground.
But it is now a fairly small zone as we near the end of the game, but we still have 8 teams left and 17 players.
Yeah, and it looks like, I would say, maybe team 20 or 22 have got, and 19 on the western side. They're quite spread out, so they're unlikely to get into a fight immediately as they get into zone. Ghost Junior with a nade to shove there.
And doing a bit of criminal damage too whilst they're at it, taking down a vending machine.
Taken down by Ghost Junior. So that's the end of them. So down to 14 players, 7 teams. So the eastern edge seems to be where the action is, although teams 20 and 22, they are coming in very close to LXD. Yep. So Lionhearts and Salty Snakes going at each other, and Lionhearts come out victorious on that one. They've then got Team 19, FE, I can't see which one that is.
That's Fusion Elite and Marnie.
Yeah, coming in. Dudders from Lionhearts gets taken out by the play zone, but that was definitely helped by some shots coming in there. Trying to see, yeah, so Spartan takes out Dudders.
It might just be worth mentioning that the Blue Zone has done incredibly well over the last 2 games.
It has. That's the thing with Miramar, because if you can't rotate, I mean, if you look at Team 21 now, they're the only ones in zone. Now, it's very hard to hold down a zone like that if you're in the centre of it with very little cover. But it means you're only fighting players, you're not fighting the zone as well. Now we've got shots coming from Snipes over to Lionheart's
And that is Sponge of Hard Shift taking down Lionheart's Cap.
Snipes getting some excellent shots there into Lionheart, and actually takes down Attitude as well.
And I think what we're seeing at the moment is because it is so open, no teams are really able to get any sort of cover. So you have like Team 2 going up against Team 10, Team 21 shooting at Team 2, Team 19 going at 18, and no real teams taking ownership.
I'm just watching Ghost Junior at the moment. He's got very little bit of cover. In fact, he hasn't got any cover now. He's just been taken out by Sponge. But he had got out just to try and cover one side, so he had to concentrate on the other side. And now we've got the team looking at Team 10. Jem Fitzy and 10 with Nick having been taken down. Not in too bad a position. They're only a couple of metres from the edge of zone, so they've gone from having to run in from the blue, taking a lot of shots, and they've actually got Sponge in inside now. So Fitzy takes down Sponge. And they've got a little bit of cover here with the bank, but Team 21 are the only ones currently in zone, I believe.
True, Team 10 are just on the edge, so if they move forward southwestish just a bit, they should be able to get in. Gen Temp is low on health as is. Fitzy's on full. They have 7 kills, which isn't too bad for Gen.
No. And it looks like Sponge there, they've got vehicles still, so they could use them either to transport, although they don't need to use it to get around the zone because it's so small now. But they could potentially use it as cover in the final zone.
And that is Gen Temp knocked.
Yep, so Fitzy's got full health. Now, what they've seen here, if you look behind Team 21, you've got FE, your money coming in. I'm not sure if they know where they are. Now, Spartan's taken out and thirsted Temp. We've got 7 Atom Snipes still out on his own there as well. Not quite in zone yet. So smokes are coming out now from Team 21. And from Gem Fitzy by the looks of it, maybe to cover trying to get into zone across a very open plane here. So Team 21, I would say, have got the upper hand here. They've got the high ground, and there are 2 of them. All the rest have only got single players.
Now, I don't know if I'd agree with that. Because although Team 21 have the higher ground, other than that, they don't have a lot to hide behind.
They don't, but it's now a 2v1v1 because they've just taken out the other player that was coming up behind him. What that has meant, though, is Fitzy's been able to get up towards zone. So Fitzy's now in zone. Snipes using a bit of smoke to cover his approach into zone. So we've got the rest of the players now, all 4 players, pretty much on the top of this sort of plateau.
And in a way, it's not 2v2.
So Snipes putting in a nade. He's got a couple of nades left, so he's just putting in a couple of nades. Unfortunately, not where they are, but at least it will disrupt and maybe get rid of a bit of health. Fitzy gets a knock on Sprung.
And Sponge tried to get that rotation there, but Fitzy saw him and has managed to get a knock. So realistically, it's now a 1v1v1 with Sponge being out of the picture.
But Fitzy's low on health at the moment, and he's got to get over this bank if he can. Now, it's good cover, but he's got to go over it. He's just seen Snipes poke, and Fitzy takes down Snipes. So we've got effectively a one-on-one now. So I'm just watching from Fitzy's point of view. I think Team 21, I think they might have got over to get the revive on.
True, and I think Fitzy is just hesitating a bit too much to the point that we now have Sponge back up. So it's now 2v1.
Now, if he's got any nades or mollies, this is when he needs to use them. Just try and disrupt, get rid of a bit of health. Just anything to give him a small advantage.
And Sponge is now pushing.
Oh, very nearly knocked. Sponge there. Excellent work with the M4. Takes down Spartan, so it's now a 1v1. He's going to thirst, so Spartan can't get any information now. So they're both on relatively low health.
Oh!
And there we go, Fitzy. So excellent one-on-one gunplay there from Fitzy to take the win.
Now, what I will say is thank God £1 Fish was not in that team. Because at the moment we've got a deal on that if £1 Fish wins a match that I'm streaming, I have to buy him a pizza.
Well, that's especially good then, because if I'm co-commentating, I've had to chip in for half, so...
Correct. So in first place is the Gen team with 10 kills. In second, we have Hard Shift with 6. In third, we have 7 Atoms with 4. In fourth, we have Fusion Elite with 2. In fifth, we have Riot with 4. In sixth, we have Lionhearts with 3. In seventh, we have Salty Snakes with 1 kill. Coming up next is the Sandhawk match. So join us in just a moment. This is the Riot Trio Scrims on a Monday, the Bounty Hunter edition. I am Abs and I'm with the lovely Deathly Hallows Jammy. So please join us in just a moment.